Hey, everybody. All right, I am going to go ahead and get started. And if other people hop in while we are talking, then awesome. But I want to not take up too much of your time tonight. And I love that I saw so many new names that registered for this tonight. So, if we have never connected online like this in a class, like high five, I'm like super happy for you to be here. So, as we here, I'm going to just mute the line. Okay. Yeah, we had like 30 people register for this class. So I know a lot of them are going to watch the recording because the time didn't work for them. So if you're watching the recording and you're also new, thank you. Thank you. It's just awesome to connect with you. And I'd love to know how you knew about this because I kind of posted it everywhere. So for those of you who are here live in the chat, I would love to know if you have taken a crystal class. And I'd also love to know what your favorite crystal is. So I am fresh back from the International Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, which is the largest crystal show on the planet. It is massive. I could do a whole 60-minute presentation on that. It is so awesome. And I am getting to know the crystals that I brought back, about 200 pounds that I'll be selling in my private crystal store. So one in particular is called a UV reactive amethyst from Brazil. It's a brand new discovery and it's really awesome. So, all right, so let me introduce myself. But like I said, for those of you here, if you could put in the chat if you have ever taken a crystal class before and what is your favorite crystal? I would love to know that. So my name is Allie Phillips and my business Manifested Harmony is coming up on a 15th anniversary. So let me tell you a little bit about me. Yes, I go to the Tucson Gem Show. I've been going since 2013. I love shopping for crystals and putting them in my private crystal store for people to enjoy. But I have been an attorney for 31 years and I was a prosecutor. So I think very differently when it comes to all the energy work that I do, including crystals. So I'm a former prosecutor. Prosecutor here in Michigan. I live at the Lake Michigan Lakeshore in Michigan. And I spent 12 years in Washington, D.C., becoming an educator. I would travel around the country and teach prosecutors and law enforcement at conferences, and I specialized in child abuse, domestic violence, and how animal abuse connects to it. I still do those teachings. I still teach at conferences. I've written a lot of books, and as a result of my very, very unique legal specialty, I created a nonprofit called Sheltering Animals and Families Together, where I launched the movement to create domestic violence shelters that allow pets to come with survivors of domestic violence. So, but I also have my business Manifested Harmony, and I've got 10 energy and coaching certifications. I'm an advanced crystal master teacher. I trained and mentored for 18 months with a science teacher who taught about crystals and ended up getting 2 certifications, including being one of her first advanced crystal master teachers. So I've been teaching about crystals since 2013. I've written a couple of books. I've written the Guided Crystal Journal. I do a lot with essential oils. And how to, that's Stella. and how to safely blend them, because I thought everybody knew how to blend oils and crystals, or even how to put crystals in water safely. And I realized a lot of people didn't know what they didn't know. Like they didn't know what to look for. So I wrote a book called The Oily Crystal. And I love to teach about unique ways to work with crystals. But I teach about crystals very differently because I am an attorney. I I don't go straight down the metaphysical spiritual path. There's nothing wrong with that, but I am deeply, deeply trained in the science of crystals, in quantum physics and frequencies, and I lead with that. And then it helps to understand all the metaphysical and all the spiritual properties. Like one of my favorite books, it literally sits here on my desk, Judy Hall, The Encyclopedia of Crystals. So Judy Hall, even though she passed away a few years ago, she doesn't talk science in any of her books. I don't see anybody talking science in the crystal books. But the way that I teach explains everything that's in there. It explains. So I love helping people understand that. And some of my best teachers have been my cats, because they don't need a double-blind peer-reviewed study to tell them how crystals work and that they're going to feel better around them. They just gravitate to them. So I love teaching a special crystal energy for animals class. So where I want to start, well, first, let me tell you about these if you are interested in diving in. At the end, I am going to tell you about my crystal classes that are coming up, because I only teach them twice a year, and they are coming up in a couple of weeks. Deadlines are very fast approaching, and then the classes will come back again in the fall. But I have some on-demand classes if you are like, oh my gosh, like I need to dive into all the things as fast as I can. I have an on-demand class called The Oily Crystal. So if you like essential oils and you're like, I need to know how to work with them, how to blend them, or just how to pair them together, where you are diffusing an essential oil and holding a crystal, like you're not even blending them. This is an 8-hour class and a 70-page workbook. It is intense. That's why I call it a master class. So that you're going to get the recording to this. If you are interested in that, use that coupon code 20OFF to get 20% off. Okay. That's my thank you to you for being here. I also have other on-demand classes. Pretty much everything I teach blends crystals, essential oils, energy, frequency, and mindset. Those are like my 4 things. So if you're interested in nervous system regulation and vagus nerve reset, that's an $8 class, okay? It comes with a little workbook. That's on my website, as well as shadow work. A lot of people are doing shadow work right now, and it is not scary. Okay, it drives me bananas when I hear teachers talking about how, oh, you're going to have a dark night of the soul. Well, you know, we've all probably had dark nights of the soul. That's not what shadow work is. It can be really empowering. Okay, it's amazing. So my class comes with a 29-page workbook. So if you're interested in that, those are there for you. And like I said, I've written some books, including the Guided Crystal Journal, and this really helps people get into a daily practice with their crystals, because how many of you have crystals and you don't do anything with them every day? Maybe because you don't know how to work with them, you don't know what to do. I wrote this journal so that you can literally get into a daily habit. So that is there for all of you. And now let's dive in. So I like to start, and this is an intro class. So I go deeper into these topics in my basic class and in my animal class. Those are like my entry level classes, and they are 9 hours each. That's entry level. My advanced class is 19 hours. So I'm just going to touch on things, and I expand on it in the basic and in the animal class. So here on earth, we live in kingdoms, okay? We live in the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. Everything is frequency. Everything. The chair that you're sitting on, the computers that we're on right now, my glass full of water. The glass is frequency, the water is frequency. You're frequency, I'm frequency. And so we have these three kingdoms that make up planet Earth. And the mineral kingdom is crystals, okay? And the root of all of these kingdoms is Earth, and the Earth has her own frequency. If you've never tracked it, just start Googling Schumann resonance, and you can get a daily graph of what's going on with the Earth's frequency. So all kingdoms here on Earth communicate in frequency. So with animals, that includes us as well as, cats and dogs and horses and cows. Humans actually communicate in the lowest form of communication because we use words, and then words come out in different languages. Whereas non-human animals like my cats, they communicate in frequency. Like my cat Stella, who just walked across here, sweetest cat, but she will give a look to her cat brothers and they go running the opposite direction. It's like, did she just swear at them? Like what did she do? It's frequency. It's how animals communicate. Animals in the wild communicate in frequency. Plants like trees and botanicals, they actually communicate underground through their roots and create pathways to share water. When there's a drought, they send airborne chemical signals and send frequency distress alerts when there's like a pest or a drought coming. Trees and botanicals and flowers and plants, they communicate in frequency. And that's what I love about essential oils, their frequency. And then in the mineral kingdom, crystals are 100% minerals. That's what a real crystal, not the fakes, okay? Real crystals are 100% minerals, and crystals are different than rocks and stones. I explained that in the basic class. So please don't call your crystals rocks and stones. They are not. They are crystals. The earth literally bubbles up and pushes up crystals to the surface that contain her DNA and her frequency. And we know the earth has a frequency because, like, I live here at Lake Michigan for a reason, because the frequency of walking the beach, even in the winter, oh my gosh, it's so healing. If you live near a forest, it's so healing, it's so calming. And that is literally the earth taking care of us and healing us. The earth does the same thing through crystals. And where a crystal is created is going to give it a different frequency. Like there is a big difference in energy of Arkansas quartz compared to Himalayan mountain quartz. Very, very big difference. So again, I explain and go into detail in my crystal classes of why that is and how that is. But the main point I want to make is that we're all communicating in frequency. So I want you to remember that. Don't forget that, because I want to talk about a little science, and then I'm going to stitch these two together. So there's a lot of belief systems when it comes to crystals, and when I teach, I narrow it down to two: the purist belief system and the science belief system. What I do is I teach to really appeal to both of those, because both are right. They are never wrong, and wherever you land is right for you. But if you're like me, you may go back and forth between the two. So, a purist just wants crystals in their pure form. They don't want them polished. They don't want the fake crystals. They don't even want jewelry, because the jewelry, you have to puncture the crystal. Like, they just want the crystal in the purest form. They are solely into the metaphysical. The purists are like, that's fine that there's science, not my thing. And if that's you, that's fine. That is exactly where you need to be. But then the science belief system is like, you know what? You can polish and you can cut a crystal. You can take a crystal, you can smash it on the floor, and it's still a crystal. Okay? The earth is amazing in how crystals are created. So here's the short story. The earth is 4.6 billion years old, and the oldest crystal is 4.4 billion years old. It's a zircon. Crystals were here on planet Earth before any living organisms. Crystals were here first, and they will be here last, okay? The entirety of Earth is nothing more than a crystal. That's what Earth is. So whenever I encounter people who are like, I don't believe in crystals, I'm like, well, you're literally living on one. So you just need to reconcile yourself with that. And then I tell them that they have crystals in their body and they're carrying crystals in their cell phone, because cell phones are operated on crystalline energy. So we are surrounded by crystals. And what I love about the science of crystals is crystals, and this is what differentiates them from rocks and stones. Crystals have a fixed repeating crystalline geometric pattern that forms from the inside out at the molecular level. It's called a crystalline lattice. This crystalline lattice is not found in rocks and stones. Rocks and stones are 100% minerals, but there is no crystalline structure. There is no replicating geometric patterns that make it a crystal, which is why crystals are so beautiful. And rocks, what you find out in your garden, or in the street, are not crystals. Now, in some crystals, you can literally see a growth pattern of how it grows from the inside out. So here, I want to show you this. Look at those pink arrows. Do you see those lines? So this is a top-down view of a fluorite point that literally is sitting in this bookshelf here in my office. So the camera is looking straight down on it, but do you see those lines? It is the growth pattern. It's a corkscrew pattern of how the crystal grew. Okay? It is the shapes and the patterns of crystals that fascinate me the most. And I teach my students what every inclusion, what every line, what every shape, what every formation, what the colors mean. Because when you put it all together, you will then understand how crystals work. And you will not find yourself being reliant on the books. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the books. But you will instinctively understand how the crystals work when you understand all these properties. Now, I just got back from Tucson. 49 different crystal shows across the city, 10,000 plus vendors. And I saw a lot of fake crystals. I'm going to show you some. I saw a lot of overly shaped and overly polished and processed crystals. And I will tell you, even though they originally started off as a crystal, the over processing of them, they have honestly impacted the crystalline lattice. Okay, this geometric structure within the crystals. It is really hard to destroy that crystalline lattice, which is why crystals are millions and billions of years old. They were here first, they will be here last. It takes a lot to destroy a crystal, but believe me, humans can do it. So in my basic class and my animal class, you get like a half a day. You get like 4.5 hours of science. It's going to be the same in both classes. And I teach about 3 physics principles that explain how the body reacts in the presence of a crystal. And, for example, in one of the physics principles, I talk about where you have two similar vibrations, okay? One is high amplitude, high energy, high frequency. And another one is a low amplitude, so low energy, low frequency. Now, when I say high, high doesn't mean better, and low doesn't mean negative. Have you ever had a friend who is really negative, like they talk all the time about negative things? That's a high frequency. That's a high frequency. Whereas a low frequency person could just be somebody who's quiet and calm all the time. Okay? So when we're dealing with energy, there is no such thing as good or bad. There's high and low. Okay, so in this physics principle, one of them that I like to teach about is when you have a high and a low frequency, the high will bring the low up to where it is. A great example of that is Tony Robbins. Have you ever heard of him? He's a motivational speaker. He's written a lot of books. Through the sheer magnitude of his presence and his voice, he can get a stadium of 30,000 people jumping up and down and all excited. And he does it with his high amplitude energy. And all those people, he brings them up to him. And that's why when you leave a motivational speaker, you're so pumped. You're like, yeah, I'm going to crush my goals. And then 2 days later, you're back to normal and you're doing nothing. Because you left the presence of that high frequency and you just went back to normal. And remember, that low amplitude doesn't mean bad, doesn't mean negative. It's a low frequency. That's where most humans are. I even see it in the animal world, where if you have dogs and you take your dog to like a doggy daycare, and there's always one dog that's like hyped up. And that dog runs over to your dog and is like, oh, do you want to play? Do you want to play? Do you want to play? And your dog, who may be a little shy, is like, okay. And then gets all riled up because the other dog is a high amplitude, brings your dog up, okay? This is frequency. It's physics. So in my classes, I teach how crystals have what's called a base resonant frequency, a dominant oscillatory rate. It is a frequency that makes a crystal what it is. It is constant in crystals. This frequency is not impacted by others. It is not impacted by entropy, which is destruction. Humans, animals, even plants suffer from high rates of entropy. I mean, right now we're in a Michigan winter, all the trees and all the plants are dormant. Come spring, they will come back to life. So they're in high entropy right now, destruction. I mean, you think about our skin cells turn over like every 24 hours. We can like regrow a liver in a couple of months. We're constantly shedding and growing, okay? Crystals don't do that. Crystals are literally set in stone. They don't suffer from entropy. So the short story is, when it comes to the frequency of humans, of animals, and of crystals, we're all in kingdoms and we're communicating with each other. And when you have a high amplitude and a low amplitude, guess who's the low amplitude between a human and a crystal? We are the low and the crystal is the high. The crystal brings us to its level. And this is how we start to synchronize with earth frequency. I mean, right now, there's so much snow on the ground. I'm not doing a whole lot of synchronizing with the earth right now, but I can certainly do it with crystals in my home. And the earth's frequency is healing. So the crystals end up dominating our energy field. And at a cellular level, they dominate us. They literally change our DNA. Okay? We are mostly water. I equate human and animals to a snow globe. I mean, we are just nothing more than a snow globe. And, you know, all day long happens to us, and the crystals stabilize us. Crystals are oscillators, and oscillators are frequency stabilizers. They literally stabilize our frequency. So I like thinking of things as the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and we all communicate in frequency. And that's what crystals do. So if you have ever been crystal shopping and you are in a store and you are drawn to one crystal, like you see a crystal and you have to touch it, that crystal is having a frequency communication with your cells and with your DNA. You're having a conversation, and that's why you go for it. Even people that don't believe in crystals, and that's a whole nother hour-long class that I could talk about, because people don't know about crystals. So how do you form a belief system about them when you don't know about them? But I even see what are obviously the non-believers, and they will still touch a crystal. It's a frequency exchange. So when you are drawn to a particular crystal, that crystal, not all the other ones, that crystal is already working with you. That's the crystal that wants to go home with you. So the crystals that you already have are the ones that got your attention. And you did the right thing. You brought them home. So we know everything has a frequency, everything has a vibrational rate to it. Every mineral in a crystal has a vibrational frequency. Crystals are full of minerals: lithium, calcium, quartz, silica, iron, aluminum, and all of those have their own unique vibrational frequency, and it is the concentration of the minerals and the combination with other minerals that differentiates each and every crystal. So if you're looking at a table of amethyst, one is going to grab your attention. And that one crystal is not going to be like any of the other amethyst. Because amethyst comes in light purple, medium purple, really, really dark, rich purple, because of the concentration of the iron that's in it. So that's why we can't say, oh, amethyst is this frequency and quartz is this frequency. We can't do that because every piece is different, and the size even impacts that. So scientifically, when we have crystals in our home, when we're carrying crystals in our pocket, when we're wearing crystal bracelets, when we're laying crystals on our body and meditating, we become the crystal. And I do this technique in my basic and animal class where I teach you how to measure the energy field of a crystal, because every crystal has an energy field, like an aura, like we do. Every crystal has an aura, and I teach you a technique how to do it, and it is the craziest thing. But the short story, the bigger the crystal, the bigger the energy field. So like if you have a crystal that's the size of, like, look on the screen on the left. That is, I literally took that a couple of hours ago. That's my coffee table. Those two big crystals are about 14 inches wide. I can tell you that just one of those would fill like a 700 square foot space. That's how much space they fill. But I strategically place my crystals to work together. I grid them to communicate and work together, and I teach you how to do that. So what is interesting about how we synchronize with crystals, Dr. Bruce Lipton is a cellular biologist. He wrote a brilliant book called The Biology of Belief. If you have not read that book, please go get that book. It will absolutely change how you view health and wellness. And he's a cellular biologist, and it is brilliant. But in that book, he talks about how our DNA has fractal antennas, and these antennas are constantly examining surroundings for frequencies. And our DNA will reshape to synchronize with the frequencies around us. This is why when you are in the presence of a motivational speaker, you rise up and you're like, yeah, I'm so excited. And when you're in the presence of your friend or family member that literally sucks the soul out of your body and drains your energy dry, your DNA has reshaped itself to them. Your DNA will reshape itself to your Wi-Fi router. If you work on a computer all day, you probably feel drained by the end of the day. I teach you what crystals to put in front of your computer so that that doesn't happen. So imagine you introduce a crystal into your human energy field, this aura. It's called a torus. The crystal acts as an oscillator, which is a frequency stabilizer. And your energy field will start to synchronize. These are physics principles. This is how we work with energy. This is how we work with energy blocks. This is how we feel better. And so I teach you about these energy layers and how to work with the crystals on your body, off your body, how just having them in your home can make all the difference so that you are synchronizing with them. So what is interesting, because I really dive into science and a lot of research, there was a discovery in 1991 by two scientists who discovered 40,000 sensory cells in our heart. It's called sensory neuritis. And these sensory cells in our heart work independently of the brain. It is a neural network independent of the brain that demonstrates that the heart thinks independently, the heart remembers independently, and it feels independent of the brain because of these sensory cells. So when people experience trauma, I have yet to meet a human being that hasn't had trauma. Trauma is experienced in the brain and the heart independently, which is why talk therapy doesn't fully work. You have to start getting into the frequency of the heart. That's what I love about crystals. Coherence, and I teach a lot about coherence between the heart and the brain working together, and you can use crystals so that you can start really healing trauma. And with the vibrational frequency of crystals being stronger than human willpower, which sabotages us, that's where the magic of healing happens. That's where the magic of manifestation happens. So crystals transmute energy simply by holding a crystal. You're going to feel it, you're going to synchronize to it, and you're going to feel better. People just feel better around crystals. You do not have to apologize to anybody for feeling better around crystals. If they don't get it, feel bad for them that they're unwilling to learn. So, quantum physics, I love to teach, has proven through the law of harmonic resonance that humans put out a frequency that activates other like frequencies to attract to us what we put out. So we get, and this is how manifestation works, and there's so much junk out there about how to manifest. I just cancel, clear, delete. Focus on quantum physics. Because we receive who we are, not what we want. So if you are surrounded by people and things that you don't want, you're going to get more of what you don't want. But when you surround yourself with people and things like crystals and situations that change your frequency, the world around you changes. That's what I love about crystals. Okay, so, crystals that are full of iron and aluminum, like amethyst has iron in it, citrine has iron in it, black tourmaline has iron and aluminum. All the metaphysical books talk about how they are protective, that they can block negative energies. I want you to think of what iron and aluminum really is. They're heavy metals, right? They're heavy. So you feel grounded when you are working with an iron or aluminum-based crystal. Iron and aluminum is also protective. Think coat of shining armor. Okay? The knight in shining armor. That's what iron and aluminum is. So amethyst is known as a protective crystal. So is citrine. So is black tourmaline. So you now see how just even the science of the minerals explains what the metaphysical books say. But the metaphysical books don't go into those details. That's what I love helping my students learn. And then silica-based crystals. So quartz is silica, okay? Silica. Silica amplifies energy. It can be programmed. You can store information in it. It's why Silicon Valley works with silica. Your computers, your tablets, your phones run on quartz. Watches have the Swiss quartz technology. So we're in the Olympics right now. And have you seen the timers? Swiss quartz technology? Quartz is silica. And that's what runs everything. But silica and quartz-based crystals raise your energy. They are the Tony Robbins of your life. And you go up here. That's what they do. When you understand all of that, you know exactly what crystals do. You know exactly what crystals you need, and you're not going to feel reliant on a book. Okay? So, question, okay, in the chat. Are these natural, which means they came out of the earth looking exactly like that? What do you think? Are these natural? That this is how Mother Earth produced these? What do you think? All right, I'm waiting to see if anybody types in the chat. It's okay, don't feel bad if this is not about getting it right or wrong. Yeah, Danielle, citrine is often not necessarily dyed, it's heat treated. I explain how it's still a crystal in my basic class, how it's still a crystal. Okay, I see a yes that it's natural. So interestingly enough, these two crystals did not come out of the earth like this. The crystal on the left is citrine. Citrine does not have white in it. What this started out as was amethyst. Amethyst is silica, which is quartz, and iron. When the iron is heated in the earth to where it turns purple, that crystal is called amethyst because amethyst means purple. When the iron is heated even more to a hotter degree, it will turn yellow. Now, the earth can do that. Natural citrine is more of like a smoky quartz, like with a little yellow in it. It is often confused with smoky quartz because it looks very brownish with a little yellow. It is not canary yellow, sunshine yellow, lemon yellow. And citrine doesn't have a white base to it. Amethyst has a white base. So this started out as amethyst. They heated it above ground, simply changed the iron. And when iron turns yellow, citrine literally means yellow. So that is still a crystal. That is still legit. It just didn't come out of the earth like that. The other one is an irradiated quartz. Now, irradiated quartz can be found in the earth, but when it is heat treated by a human, they are literally using radiation, and that's actually dangerous. In the earth, it's not dangerous, but above ground, they're using radiation. So yeah, don't feel bad if you have a heat-treated citrine. I have tons of heat-treated citrine. It is still a legit crystal, and I go into greater detail in my basic class, but the short story is, it's like I see some sellers calling that yellow amethyst. Nope, nope, no. Amethyst means purple. So how can you have yellow purple? When the mineral changes color, it changes the name. And the iron, the property of the iron changes a little bit. Yellow is very bright and uplifting and sunny. So now we're getting into color therapy of crystals. Whereas purple, soothing and calming. What's interesting, on the color wheel, yellow and purple are polar opposite. So even though they have almost the same chemical composition, once you start heating the iron, they become polar opposite. Isn't that cool? I love this stuff. Like, it's so awesome. And you get a lot of that in my classes. All right, what do you think? Real? Like these came out of the earth looking like that? Fake? Have they been tampered with? Are they lab created or are these totally natural? Give me your vote. Tell me in the chat what you think. Okay, I see one not natural. Okay. So here's the interesting thing. Not only did these not come out of the earth, these were 100% lab created. Mother Earth does not produce that sort of color, that sort of like iridescence. There are some crystals that have an iridescence sheen to them. They are outrageously rare and super duper expensive. The earth does not produce that. Plus, there is no difference in coloring. Crystals have shades of color. They're just not all one color. That entire table was fake. Fakey, fakety fake. And I love to call this stuff out on my social media. And I'm sad to say that a lot of this stuff is in Tucson. And as long as they label it, you can sell whatever you want, but they're not labeling it. And so store owners, crystal sellers go to Tucson to get their supply. And if they are sold that and not told that it is lab created, that seller is then going to go into their store and they're going to put that out for sale and make you think that it's real. And this is why you have to be very cautious who you buy from. You have to really know them. And I teach you how to question before you buy crystals. Because I saw store owners buying those. And that's not okay. That's not okay at all. And I have no problem going up to the sellers and saying, shame on you, you need to advertise that. You need to put out a label that say these are lab created. And they just look at me like, what? It's like, now I'm going to make fun of you on social media. Okay, so I do my best to try to educate everybody. All right, so why I love crystals right now, and yeah, I've been teaching about crystals for 13 years. I've been literally working with crystals since I was 3 years old. I just recently found my childhood supply of crystals. It's like, aw, Allie was so cute with her little crystals. We live in really energetically stressful times. There are things happening with the earth, with her frequency, that is raising. So we need to raise our frequency with her while staying grounded. We are surrounded by so much technology and electromagnetic frequencies. Don't even get me going about AI and what's happening there. We are surrounded by toxins in the air, in the water, in my food. Believe me, I can go off on an 80-hour rant on all of these individually. I will spare you from that. I do a lot of research. But we also live around a lot of toxic emotions because people who are not doing their inner work, they're not healing their trauma, they're not going into their shadow. You don't eliminate your shadow, you don't release your shadow, you don't heal your shadow, you embrace it and let it empower you. That's shadow work. People who are not doing the work because they don't know how, they are losing it. And if you've ever looked around and thought, wow, people are crazy, like people are so angry and why are we so divided? We are at a perfect storm right now. If you go onto my YouTube channel a couple months ago, it was in December, I did a class on just kind of what's happening with the energy shift. Like go onto my YouTube page, Manifested Harmony, and you'll find it. And I explain a lot of what's happening and how we must ground ourselves to earth while we raise our frequency. We have to do both at the same time. Okay? And that's where crystals come in. Because there are crystals that do both. Amethyst is one, citrine is one, because they have iron, which is grounding, and quartz, which is high vibration. So now you have one crystal that does both. I teach you about these crystals and how to do this work so that you can thrive in an energetically stressful world. Because I'll tell you, this month is going to be crazy. We got a lot going on. I look at astrology. I look at all the stuff that is happening. July is going to be a hot mess. This year is really pushing us, and you can thrive. You can thrive in it. I have a whole community where we are shifting and thriving through all of it. And crystals are a key part of it. Crystals are not woo-woo. They can be your best friend at this time in our history. So when you're working with crystals, here are just a couple of things. And again, I go into greater detail in my classes. Large pieces, like the size of a melon. Large pieces in your home are going to totally change the frequency. People are going to get along, pets are going to get along, kids are going to get along. It changes the frequency. Crystals in your workspace is very beneficial. But here's the thing, no quartz-based crystals. Quartz amplifies. Remember I said that? Quartz amplifies. You don't need your computer and your Wi-Fi amplifying. Black tourmaline. There's a lot of crystals, but black tourmaline is your crystal to have in your office. Right here in front of my computer, I got a row of black tourmaline. Okay? Put crystals on your nightstand to help you sleep. You can wear crystals throughout the day. I put crystals in my pocket. I will teach you how to put crystals in water to drink. There's a safe way to do it. Please don't do it right now. There's a lot of false, inaccurate information online. I teach you how to do that. I drink crystal water all day long. This is Rudy, by the way. Rudy and my other two cats, we drink crystal water all day long. We are literally becoming the crystal all day long. You can hold a crystal in meditation. If you like to watch a movie at night, okay, I'm a big fan of Hallmark movies. That's my thing. I lay on the couch. I lay crystals on me. I even have a heated crystal mat that I lay on in the winter particularly. I'm watching a movie and I'm getting healing frequency, okay? But you can put the crystals on your body for balance. Now, you can take a screenshot of this, but I am going to send you a link to this recording. I will do it tonight. I will process this recording as soon as we are done, and I will email it to you. I could literally make 50 recommendations for every negative emotion that we feel. I just wanted to give you 2. Okay? So I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are crystals that I talk about in all of my classes, okay? Whether it's the basic class, the animal class, or the advanced class. They all do very, very specific things based on the minerals and where they grew. And these are really, really powerful crystals. And I often have these in my private store, which students have access to. Okay, so when you're feeling overwhelmed, black tourmaline, very grounding. If you are filled with anger, and maybe you're not even sure why you're angry, the light blue crystals. Light blue is very calming. It's very cooling. It cools the heat of anger. That's why I like angelite or blue lace agate. So when we're working with crystals, it's not just the shape of the crystal. It's not even just the minerals of the crystal. It's the color. We're dealing with multiple frequencies, and we're layering them all together. Now, to feel better, these are my recommendations. A lot of people talk about how citrine is the abundance crystal. It was, and it plays a small factor in abundance, but yellow is no longer the abundance frequency. Citrine is no longer the abundance frequency because yellow is the color of the solar plexus chakra. I go through chakras in my classes. 15 years ago, we manifested through our solar plexus. That's our empowerment center. That's our wisdom center. That's willpower. That's where we make things happen. That's not how we manifest anymore. Manifesting moved up to our heart center. We manifest who we are. And those who are doing things from the heart, like heart-based businesses, caring, compassionate businesses that give back, are thriving. Businesses that are greedy are starting to collapse. What's the color of the heart chakra? Green is one of the colors. Green is the new abundance crystal. I don't know anybody who's talking about that. I caught on to that back in 2011. It's like, oh, citrine can help with good self-esteem and good self-worth, because if you have crappy self-worth and self-esteem, you're not going to manifest what you want. So it helps with that, but then you got to go to the green crystals for energy. This is the stuff that I love, 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 love to share. So let me talk about my classes. So I have a 9-hour. It's basically I teach in person and I teach online. So in person, right now I do not have a basic. I just moved to the Lake Michigan Lakeshore. I do not have enough of a client base here, but I have a lot of clients online. I'm going to be teaching basic online in 2 4.5-hour sessions. Okay. You're going to learn the science. You're going to learn about the energy field and how crystals influence it. I'm going to talk about crystal forms because every shape does something different, and how you're going to work with a point versus a polished crystal. Very different. I'm going to talk about cleansing because cleansing crystals is not what everybody talks about online. Everybody talks about cleansing crystals. Every time you touch a crystal, every time your friend touches a crystal. No, you don't really need to. If you want to, you can. But I explain why. I will teach you how to program quartz in particular. We will go through 10 specific crystals. I will mail you a total of 17 crystals to work with in class. This is a very hands-on class. You're going to be doing things. You're going to be feeling things. You're going to do a couple of body layouts, even online. You're going to do some body layouts. I'm going to teach you how to build crystal grids. I'm going to teach you about sacred geometry. I'm going to teach you how to make crystal water. Okay? And in the animal class, you get all the science. You get a lot of that same information. But instead of working with people, I'm going to teach you exclusively how to work with animals because it's different. It's different because for people, a lot of people work with crystals to work on mindset, like sabotage. Animals don't have that. They are purely physical and behavioral. That's it. So how we work crystals with animals is very different. So I have a totally separate class because I'm an animal protection attorney. I have dealt with a lot of animals that have gone through trauma and abuse and neglect, and they have been wonderful teachers. So each of those 2 classes are a 9-hour class. Once you take a basic or an animal class, you then can take the advanced class. And it's 18 to 19 hours. I write my own workbooks. The advanced workbook is over 140 pages. It's a lot of information. But I go through everything that you see on the screen. It is very advanced. I go into quantum physics. I go into the energy shift. I will teach you things that will have you looking at everything so differently. You're going to have so many aha moments that explain so much. Crystals are literally integrated into everything. Everything. And when you see it, it's like, oh, we live on a crystal planet. We run everything on crystal energy. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I feel bad for the people that think crystals are woo-woo. It's like, I don't think the internet thinks it's woo-woo. Literally, the internet is run on crystals. So, anyway, one thing that I normally don't do is open up my student membership group when you sign up for a class. You have to take a class and then you get an invitation to the crystal cluster. But since I just got back from Tucson and I am starting my online Tucson crystal shows, my crystals always go to the crystal cluster group first. So if you want to sign up for a basic class or an animal class, I will send you an invitation. It's a very, very affordable paid membership. But we have continuing education once a month. I bring in guest speakers. Oh my gosh, we do so much. We are in our 5th year in this group, but all my crystals go for sale, the new ones, in the crystal cluster, and 90% of what is new in my store never goes to a public sale. I do a public sale on the Manifested Harmony Facebook page once a month, but it's what's left over, and 90% of what I have in my store is never seen publicly. So if you register for one of these classes, you will get an invitation to the crystal cluster and you can join, because the first Tucson sale is Sunday. That's how quickly I'm getting these crystals processed. And I'm going to have 6 sales. I have 6 months worth of crystals. I'm divvying it up. There's so much that I brought back, and they're so unique and so cool. I'm going to teach you how to do this. That is a very, very powerful grid. That is actually a divine feminine empowerment grid. I've had that going for a couple of years. It is working, and I will teach you exactly how to do this, even for animals. And there's my cat Dobby. He's now 19. He is my keeper of the crystals. He doesn't need a double-blind peer-reviewed study. Whenever I make a grid or whenever I have crystals, he sits in them. He sits in them. So I teach you what that all means in relation to animals. And then after the advanced class, you have the possibility of 3 certifications. Some people need it for their business, and other people just want to be certified just for the sake of accomplishing something. So I offer 3 different certifications. So I'm enrolling right now. So my online basic is coming up March 28th and 29th, and registration is going to cut off on the 18th. Oh no, I'm sorry, that date is wrong. Jeez. It's February 28th and 29th. Hold please, because I want this to be accurate. February, there we go. All right. February 28th and 29th. So registration cuts off 10 days beforehand. So registration cuts off next Wednesday. So I'd love to have you guys in it. We have a lot of fun, and you get to ask all your questions. That's the thing. I know quite a few crystal teachers. I graduated my advanced certification with a couple of people who are still teaching, but all of their classes are pre-recorded. They're on demand. You don't get the questions answered. So, oh yeah, there's not. Thank you, Danielle. Oh my word. Let me, hold on. Hold, please. My brain is fried. You're right, there is no February and March 1st. I will get it together. All right, thanks for keeping me honest there. Oh, my word. Okay, the other dates, are those accurate? Yes, they are. Thank you. All right. Okay, so, that's on my website, manifestedharmony.com/classes, crystal classes. But if you're like, Allie, I'm not ready to take a class, that's okay. That's okay. I hope this was helpful. If you want to get the guided crystal journal, that's on my website, manifestedharmony.com. You can get the oily crystal masterclass if you want that. Make sure you're on my email list. So go to my website, just sign up for my email list. There's a lot that I do that I don't advertise on social media. I mean, I'm on social media. I'm on TikTok a lot, but also Facebook, Instagram, and then I post classes on YouTube. But there's a lot of stuff that I only put in my emails. I've started doing these harmony healing circles online. I started my business 15 years ago doing these in person. I did one last month. I will guide you through a healing. Okay, a lot of people are struggling right now. So I'm going to do another one, I don't know, probably in a couple of weeks. So just make sure you get on my email list so that you can attend those. I do a lot of stuff. So, but you can connect with me, and I'm always teaching stuff, so you can find me TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Substack, YouTube, all the places. So what I would love to know is, what questions do you have? Feel free to type in the chat. What questions do you have? And I think at this point, I'm going to stop the recording so that if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, it's not going to be part of the recording, which will be public on my YouTube page. So let me thank everybody who's watching the recording, and I'm going to stop the recording at this point.